So what are you wearing? No, no, that's not what I meant. I meant, how are you dressing for the weather? All right. Yeah. All right. I got a show to do. I'll be back. You've got to be so careful with how you phrase things these days, don't you? What are you wearing? Ooh, sexual harassment. No, actually, here we are. The reason I asked the question of my employee there in the office was because I was confused about what to wear today. We've got nice warm weather, so I thought I'd try to squeeze one more week of Hawaiian shirt and shorts out of this season. So that's why I look a little out of place, maybe. I don't give up. They still haven't trimmed these things. I don't give up until it's over. All right, so welcome to Season 2, Episode 40 of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. That would be me. We are fueled by Gale's Gas Bars Limited, and we thank them for that, as always. Our sponsors, Performance Heating and Air, Enwick, Niagara's high-speed internet service, and Verge Insurance Group, as well as always, we are executively produced and technically produced and supported by WeeStream. We'll introduce you to Kevin Jack in just a bit, who's behind the camera right now. We are going to follow up on some things from last week and talk about this week, and we're going to get underway with this program. Episode 40, that is so cool. Coming up in just a minute. So this is, as always, Niagara 411 Live. Also, thanks to Nick at Niagara 411 and all of you people for supporting the program. We'll be right back. Again, and I kicked it off with the wardrobe thing because that's exactly what happened to me today. I got up this morning, the fog is kind of laying around. It's feels kind of damp and chilly. Then I step outside because I want to see what it's like before I take my dog for our daily morning walk. And then I go out, well, I don't know. So threw on a pair of shorts, t-shirt, out we go with the dog. And then it started to warm up, started to get humid, and I thought, well, now I'm really totally confused. So as I mentioned, Kevin, I'm trying to squeeze in the Hawaiian shirt and shorts look for at least one more week, at least one more show.
Yeah, it looks like we got a nice weekend, at least temperature-wise. Some rain on the weekend, but you can see right above me here.
Yeah, look
21,
at that.
21, 22, 24, that's
now,
nice.
As far as the experts in the weather world will tell you, that is way above average for daily temperatures. We go down at night to about like 14 degrees, something like that, and that is normally what we would be experiencing as the highs for the day. So I figured, why not? I'll be fashionably incorrect and squeeze in one more summer outfit. Why not? Why not? Kevin Jack, ladies and gentlemen, executive producer of your program on the far right-hand corner of your screen. Kevin, welcome back to the program. Been an interesting week all the way around. And speaking of that, let me just start off right here. Why don't we do this? The big story last week on this program was the fact that we interviewed Kelly Campbell. Kelly Campbell is the mom of the two girls, Alex and Paige, who were taken by their dad to an island off the coast of Newfoundland, a French island by the name of Saint-Pierre. There's two of them there, Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, the smaller one. And we interviewed Kelly, and the comments came like crazy. And one of the comments came from the girl's father, and in the interest of full disclosure, we wanted to, in case you have not seen this, wanted to bring you up to date. So Mr. Meisner says, of all the newscasts and coverage I have seen, this has got to be the worst. Commenting, of course, on our interview with his ex-wife, Kelly Campbell. He goes on to say, I mean, did they even read the site before broadcast? One-sided nonsense. This is why, Niagara 411, I have declined your interview requests. Okay, well, I made a comment that we're not going to dwell on because I got a little I got a little snarky, so we'll pass on that. But, if I bent some people the wrong way, so be it. That's what I do. Now, Kevin, however, was a little bit more, as the executive producer of these kinds of shows. See, the talent like me, we can stick our toe in the puddle of public disenchantment and get away with it, because we can, like our government officials, we can apologize, but I'm not apologizing. Our executive producer, on the other hand, Kevin Jack, was very, very diplomatic. And he said, here is a link to last week's segment. Rebecca Marie Ferguson was a woman who commented on this, saying that we screwed things up. But Rebecca Marie Ferguson, we used and displayed Clayton's own Facebook posts as the source. I think you would benefit from watching it. Kevin, that was a very executive producer-like thing to say.
Well, thank you. And in context, that was in response to people suggesting that this was a one-sided interview, and I guess to clear the air.
Yeah, and that's what kind of ticked me off.
The week before, and that's this segment here, is we presented Clayton's side in his own words, in his own Facebook posts, and intimated that this is one side of the story.
Right.
Between then and last week's program, Kelly, the mother, reached out to us, and we had erroneously said on the show that we tracked her down. We did not. She came to us.
Actually, and I will claim error for that. And again, we've said before, we'll talk to anybody. If I stub my toe on something, I'll admit it. So this is what I did. When I was introducing the interview with Alex and Paige's mom, Kelly Campbell, I said that we reached out to her. That is not true. She reached out to us. So I misspoke when I was introducing that. And it's live. It's live TV. So sometimes you're going to say things that you realize later, oh, that wasn't exactly accurate. So I'll tell you, it wasn't exactly accurate. We didn't reach out to Ms. Campbell. She reached out to us. And the thing that I want to go back to, speaking of reaching out, in that comment that Mr. Meisner made, and Kevin, you might want to scroll back to that so that I can repeat it. So I don't want to be accused of not quoting the quote. One-sided nonsense. This is why, Niagara 411, I have declined your interview requests. Well, to clarify, we never made any interview requests. So, Mr. Meisner, if you were refusing requests from somebody, it wasn't us. Now, to clarify, going forward from that, we did reach out. And I will say this accurately this time. We did reach out to Clayton Meisner to come on this program this week. And here's part of the way we did that. We sent a message directly to Mr. Meisner, and we also sent a message to, obviously, this lady who is fairly close to the story. Kevin said, Rebecca Marie Ferguson, maybe you can help me. Reach Clayton Meisner. I sent him a DM in Facebook, but he hasn't seen it yet. It gets buried in other inbox, I think. Inviting him onto the show this week. Is there an email I should use, or a better way? DM me, please. Rebecca gets back to Kevin and says I forwarded it to him. He can decide if he wishes to contact you. So, and that kind of brings you up to date. But heretofore, up until that request, there was no request from Niagara 411. There was no request from Niagara 411 Live. So, Mr. Meisner, you did not refuse any of our requests because there were not any.
Now, Lee, I want to show you, this is the type of language that we use, and here's what I wrote to Clayton. Hi, Clayton. Hope you and the girls are doing well. I'm Kevin Jack, the producer of Niagara 411 Live.
Right.
Wanted to provide background on last week's show. You probably didn't even know we had a show. The week before, 2 weeks ago, we talked about your custody battle on the show. We shared your posts and talked about a father's desire to take children away from an abuser. We sympathized with you and shared your personal Facebook post alleging the abuse, etc. Then, last Wednesday, I received an email from Kelly asking to come on the show and share her side of the story. We did not reach out to Kelly. She came to us. You have seen the subsequent interview. I'm reaching out to offer you the same opportunity to share your side in your words. Our show is live Thursdays, noon to 1:30. That's 2 to 3:30 on St. Pierre Island, and the interviews are done over Zoom. Does 12:20/2 p.m. right around this time work? I can make myself available between now and Thursday to help with your setup, Zoom, etc. If you'd like, you can feel free to call me to discuss if you prefer. There's my cell phone number. Would love for you to come on the show and balance the narrative. Let us know. Thanks, Kevin.
And we get accused of one-sided nonsense. And have you read the post? Yes, and we've seen Mr. Meisner's website. We have seen the history that is on the background. We have seen all of those things, and we mentioned those things on the program. So, by all means, criticize the show, criticize me, criticize Kevin, whatever. But we will take issue, and that's fine. We'll let it go. I don't really give a hoot. You like, you don't like, that's fine. But if we are accused of slanted or one-sided, or what they used to refer to as yellow journalism, that is when we will take issue, and we will expose the truth and the balance of our reporting, as we did to kick off this program. And that was the only really, still bees hanging around this time of year. That was the point of kicking the show off in this way. We make no judgments. I'm not Family and Children's Services. I'm not a judge. I'm not a court. Obviously, the judge and jury of social media, the great public is out there, and everybody has their opinion, whether they know anything about it or not. Which is why we wanted to again tell Mr. Meisner's story, because we did it the week before we talked with Kelly Campbell. And okay, is there anything we've left on? Is there any stone we've left unturned here, Kevin?
I think the only one is to remind people that the show is 100% open to anyone at all times. So
right now included.
If you feel compelled to comment on the program, we would encourage you to come on the show. We talk to everyone. So
yes.
If you're involved with the story, if you've got a side, if you have commentary, by all means, engage with us here on the program.
Mr. Meisner, if you're watching right now, click on the link and come in and tell me that we're all full of crap, or tell me the truth, or tell us all what's happening right now with you. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, we're not going to argue with you. We're in the interest of full disclosure if we can possibly be. And at the end of the day, I don't think that anybody is going to disagree with me when we say we just want to we care more about how the children are doing and what the prognostication is, if you will, or the prognosis for the rest of their lives are, because it's got to be pretty traumatic for 12 and 14-year-old. I think those are their ages, 12 and 14-year-old girls, to have to deal with such a public display of their lives, and that can't be comfortable. It can't be good under any circumstances. And I think we can all agree, depending on which side you come down on, irrespective of that those are the two most important people in this story.
If you notice, Lee, I sent this same message via Facebook and also via email, and the first line: hope you and the girls are doing well. And that's the number one thing.
And I suppose we could accuse of being defensive as well, because journalists, and I never referred to myself as a journalist, frankly, but this is a story that does have a journalistic edge to it, so that we have to try to provide balance.
It's funny, Lee, that you're on that topic. Let me just share a personal experience here, because there's new media that is emerging, and it's kind of pushing MSM, mainstream media, into an uncomfortable place.
Traditional journalism. Yeah.
And people say, well, traditional journalism, they do their fact-checking, this, that, and the other. Well, I'll tell you.
No, they don't.
As a business owner, locally, if we have had 10 articles in which we were mentioned, WeeStream has been misspelled 9 out of 10 times. So that's mainstream media. That's fact-checking. That's journalism. They can't even Google our business name so that they can spell it correctly. And I'm just saying, that's my personal experience. So those are the people that are doing their fact-checking and doing their homework, misspell my company's name 9 out of 10 times.
And I'm the first one, if we're talking about mainstream media, I'm the first one to defend mainstream media, because it provided me and my family with a livelihood. It's what I did for a long, long time. But the dynamics of it have changed to the point where I'm finding it difficult to be as staunch a defender of mainstream media as I have been for the last 45 years or so.
Well, and Lee,
Almost 50. Because we don't have proofreaders. Just pick up a local newspaper and look at the spelling mistakes and the grammatical errors. There used to be proofreaders that went over this stuff.
That's what I was going to say. It's not what it used to be, and that's what
It
you're
is
saying.
not. There used to be...
I respect everybody in mainstream media, don't get me wrong, but
me too.
They're being stretched very thin.
News directors and TV and radio stations always used to have policies in place whereby before you went to air with something, facts were checked, sources were checked, they were confirmed, and you never wanted to get anything wrong. Now it's about getting it first. Newspapers, same thing. Editorial meetings would be held, and do you have sources? Are those sources credible? I don't need to know who they are because there was always this story about the credibility of protecting sources from ridicule, etc. And it was always important that everything be checked out 6 ways to sideways. The numbers of people in newsrooms, in electronic media, as well as print media and others, the staffing is so dwindled now that those due diligence processes no longer exist at the level that they did back in the Washington Post days, the New York Times days, or even local Niagara papers days. There simply is not the personnel. And the technology is different to be able to do all of those things. So that's why we have to be really, really careful about how we report things. And that's one thing we want to do here at Niagara 411, because there are no sacred cows here. I ain't a liberal, an NDP, a conservative, a green. I'm no color. And it doesn't, and I don't think Kevin is too. You know what? Kevin and I never even talked about who we voted for in the last, because I don't give a crap.
I'll tell you, I didn't vote for the guy that went to Tofino, and I didn't vote for the main guy that was going against him.
There you go. And so that's why this show is important, and that's why we invite you to come on, and here's how you do it. If you're watching this live feed, I don't care who you are or where you are. You could be on the moon. If you've got internet access, you can watch this show. And right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see, click the Zoom link in the post. That's how you come on. And now you're not going to go right on like poof and be on the air. There is a screening process, a little bit of a one, and that's just to make sure that you've got your technology in place. So you click on the link. Kevin sees it. It's kind of like our Zoom room green room, and make sure your audio and is toggled on, and your video, your camera is toggled on, and then Kevin will shoot you in here and we'll have a conversation. And again, agree, disagree, pass on more in-depth information, help inform us better. We're always looking for that as well. Like if we make a statement or we put something on the screen and we don't have the background on it and you do, please fill your boots, come and help educate us, connect with Niagara, which is what the program is all about. And again, while we're taking a minute on that vein, again, as we mentioned at the beginning, we are, as always, fueled by Gales Gas Bars, our primary sponsor for this program. Also supported by Performance Heating and Air. They're trying to save you money here on your HVAC issues, folks, because they have families here as well. So to Carlo again, thank you. Enwick, high-speed internet. Probably one of the, if maybe not the only, one of the very few municipalities or regions that has this kind of service. And Verge Insurance Group, thank you.
Yeah, now Lee,
little tickle.
I'll throw in there while you're taking a sip, just an aside about Enwick. There was a story that emerged out of rural Niagara, I think Waynfleet area, where somebody had moved down here from Toronto because, hey, I'm working remotely now, and the internet options were putrid except Enwick. Enwick is the local company that stepped up and gave him a tailored-to-him solution so that he and his wife could continue to work effectively from home, and none of the other big boys would do what he needed to get done. So there you go. I mean,
I hadn't heard that before. Thanks for bringing that. Yeah.
No contracts, too, right? They say at Enwick. So you could try them out for a month, 2 months, doesn't work. You can walk away, but guaranteed that it's going to be your best, especially rural solution, but I know there's urban ones as well. So anyway, Lee, I know we got a rest of the program to kind of get to.
Yeah. So we can move off that, but again, people on Facebook are. I'll make one more comment and then we'll get off this. Are more accustomed to simply writing things like and blasting it out there as a comment. Think of this as your live and in the moment opportunity to make that comment. You can type all you want. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But if you want to make your point in the moment, do it now. You're more than welcome to do so. That's the whole point of this program. Now, a couple of pretty interesting stories. One of them, we'll go just, first of all, immediately back to last evening. And we mention this because invariably, Kevin, we have stories from all over our municipality as well as province and across the country, etc., about situations that police officers find themselves in. And so very often, the police officer involved is under incredible scrutiny or criticism because of how they might have treated a situation. Now here's a situation of a police officer on an evening shift. It was in the evening, was it not, Kevin? Or was it the middle of the day?
Yeah, it was last night.
Yeah.
And let's get to the whole thing here. Around 8:30, I believe.
About 8:30.
Yeah, there we go, 8:38 p.m.
Yeah, so here's the deal. The things that people have to put up with in their job. Last night, 8:30, officer with the Niagara Regional Police Service, traffic enforcement unit, stopped a car. Lundy's Lane and Kaler Road area, Niagara Falls. Officer stopped the car to investigate a possible impaired driver. So while standing at the side of the road with the driver, an unknown man who had no connection to the traffic stop at all approached the officer. So here's a cop talking to somebody about whether he's an impaired person operating a vehicle, and this dude walks up and begins to video record the meeting, the conversation, and to yell and use foul language at the officer. So the man was cautioned against obstructing the impaired investigation and told to move back. And then it is escalated because this guy spits in the officer's face. The man was told he was under arrest, but then took it even further, resisted arrest, and was able to, the man was told he was under arrest, but resisted the officer, was able to make his way to the plaza on the southeast corner of the intersection. The man continued to struggle and resist the officer and their backup. So by then, obviously, some assistance had arrived. More officers get on the scene. The man is handcuffed. He continued to struggle, refused to be placed into his cruiser. Once officers were able to get the guy into the back seat, he continued to resist, struggled to prevent the doors from being closed. So this was a goat show, a real goat show. The man then kicked another officer in the chest. Officers were able to secure the door for this man to be transported to prisoner management unit in Niagara Falls. No officers were injured, but they certainly could have been, and there's the guy, William Bradley Prentice, 45 years of age, from the Falls, been arrested, charged with the following offenses, blah, blah, blah. And one of those offenses is breach of probation. So this guy was in jail before for some sort of offense, had been released on bond, on probation, and decides that he's going to do this and get himself arrested again. Is there some sort of mental health issue here? Quite possibly. Don't know, doesn't say, but one could be led to assume that perhaps there is. Does not forgive the actions, but it just highlights what our police officers have to deal with on a regular day. This is just a regular day. It's a traffic stop. It's a traffic stop. And yes, the guy was being stopped for impaired driving, but that really wasn't the issue. It could have been a speeding ticket. Could have been anything. And this person accosts the officer, spits on him, and then proceeds to take up other officers' time as well, just trying to be put into handcuffs. All right. So that's that. I don't know what else you can say except that there but for the grace of God go any Niagara Regional Police officer on their duty on any given shift, on any given day or night. Segueing into this one, and sorry, I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny, but it's so.
But I think that's everybody's first reaction.
It's so stupid. You want to kind of laugh. So now we're going back to Monday, a couple days earlier from the last event. Uniformed officers were conducting a general patrol. In other words, they're just out doing their thing. They're in their car, they're on their job, and they're cruising around the city. They conducted a traffic stop for somebody that was suspected as a suspended driver in the area of Niagara Street and Lakeshore Road in the city of St. Catharines. Investigation revealed the driver operating the vehicle had just dropped his children off at school. So we're talking probably around 9 o'clock in the morning, right, Kev?
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
Yeah.
I dropped my kids off at 9.
Yeah. Dropped his children off at school and was observed with an open can of beer in the passenger's seat. Not like between the seats, but it was in the passenger's seat. So that's the area, not too far from where I live, actually. As a result, the driver was asked to provide a breath sample, which indicated a fail. Adam Manuel, 37 years of age, of Lincoln, arrested and charged with the following offenses: impaired and etc.
Well, do you see the other stuff on here?
Driving while under suspension, owner-operate motor vehicle on a highway with no insurance, surrendering a false insurance card, knowingly use of a false insurance card, driving a motor vehicle with open container of liquor. And at the end of their shift, these police officers must at some point, and I know some of them are long and boring shifts and nothing happens, but when something like this occurs, especially at like 9 o'clock in the morning, the officer probably hasn't been on his shift that long. He's thinking, wow, what kind of day is this going to be? Well, that officer was probably involved in paperwork and everything for the rest of his shift, because it takes a while to process these folks. And you have to shake your head at the end of the day and say, what is up with people? What are you thinking?
That one's crazy. I mean, 9 in the morning, drop the kids off at school, you've got open alcohol in the front seat of your car, and you're already tuned.
And I suppose, though, that is one of the primary results of an alcohol issue is invariably it results in people making bad choices.
Yeah,
or there's always the possibility of making bad choices, right?
There's the thought of waking up and reaching for a bottle right away. I'm not saying that that's this case, but that's at the core of a lot of these cases. And we got
or not having been to bed yet or whatever.
Slow-moving transport. Don't think we're going to get much done.
Every week, ladies and gentlemen, we remind you that this is a live program. We have no idea what's going to happen behind us, and it is there live on camera, whatever it is. And boy, we had our share last week. We had our share of loud vehicles, didn't we, Kevin?
Yeah, last week was, and it was in the comments as well. I said, boy, that was really loud. You know what?
Yeah.
You're right. You got us.
Probably now here we are sitting in Fiddler's Poorhouse. I did not mention this in the opening. Kevin showed the sign, as per usual. I did not mention that we are also, as per usual, sitting in the lovely open-air window here on St. Paul Street in downtown St. Catharines of Fiddler's Poorhouse. Now, I know Kevin took some pictures earlier, but this is shameless, I tell you. Promotion. Brand new menu taking effect tomorrow here at Fiddler's Poorhouse. I perused this menu, and it looks pretty good. I mean, the food was always good, is always good, but how the menu is set up in the pictures and everything, it kind of makes me hungry. I don't want to look at it anymore. But anyway, come on in to Fiddler's here and check it out.
This does good. Those arancini balls are delicious.
Who's arancini?
That's what's in that picture there. Those are arancini balls, kind of like a rice ball.
Yeah, I saw that, but
They're delicious. I don't know who
it's
arancini
not like
is.
somebody's name, like Arancini, like an Olympic athlete or anything. Okay.
And look at this, bunch of poutines, buffalo chicken poutine on the menu.
Yeah.
Somebody ordered that Monday night. I was in here after Meridian League hockey.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so thankful to have
You're
ice
playing
hockey
hockey
back.
again.
Yeah, hockey's back.
Attaboy.
Cauliflower bites. There's no better cauliflower bite in all of
I
Niagara.
know. Well, you're addicted to those, so that's not fair. You have an addiction.
Fish and chips, the chicken wings, fantastic, and then sandwiches and wrap. The pork belly BLT. Remember we had that? It was so good.
Yeah. Now, we're probably going to have lunch after this, right, Kev?
Yeah, I know. I'm
What are you
shopping
going to
right
get
now.
me?
I don't know. I'm
What do you wanna
shopping
have?
right now.
What do you want to have? All right.
I don't know. Not buffalo chicken wrap. I might
No.
have the pork belly BLT.
Okay, that was good.
I wonder if that's. Oh man.
Anyway,
new menu
it's
tomorrow.
all excellent. New menu, Fiddler's Poorhouse, and again, we thank Dave McParian and all of his staff for putting up with us, because it's not always that easy, because we disrupt their lives every Thursday, and Kevin's not always that easy to deal with.
Yeah.
So, but where this was segueing into is the vaccination, the proof of vaccination that is in place, and it has been in place here as far as going into restaurants like this for, what is it now, a couple of weeks? 10 days?
I think it came in the 22nd of September.
Yeah. All right. So now when you go into a restaurant, and my wife and I have been into a few, to be perfectly honest, and everything goes swimmingly. If you're sitting on a patio outdoors, it's not necessary for you to have that proof of vaccination at this current moment in time anyway. But if you go to sit indoors, it is necessary to have that proof of 2 vaccinations, as well as bees, as well as some photo ID as well to back that up. And none of the experiences we've had have been negative. Always been so easy, everybody easy to get along with, very easy to show what your documents and move in. Takes very, very little time. I have not myself witnessed any potential customers causing any problems for the serving staffs of these establishments, which is good, because they're just trying to do their job. And I'm sure, though, that there have been some. I just haven't been witness to them. Slide now into the announcement that just was made yesterday by our Prime Minister on the federal side of things. Now, this widens the scope of everything, in the fact that we will be placed in the situation of needing proof of vaccination to travel by train or plane. The first deadline is the end of October. They are extending sort of a grace period to the end of November to allow people that have not the proper documentation to acquire the proper documentation. So there's this little bit of gray area between the end of October and the end of November. But officially, effectively, unindubitably, by the end of November, to get on a plane in Canada to go anywhere in Canada or elsewhere, you're going to have to be vaccinated. Twice. Trains, same thing. They did not. One thing that Kevin, I didn't know, or I didn't see, and I didn't hear, was anything about buses.
I didn't hear anything about that either. I think because it's probably not federal jurisdiction, right?
Perhaps. So if you're going to take a cross-country bus, I don't know. But anyway, suffice it to say that the mandate that we were all expecting, perhaps sooner than it actually happened, has finally happened. You want to set foot on an airplane in Canada, you got to be double vaxxed. You got to have the certificate. You have to be able to prove it, and that's basically the bottom line. That's the end of the deal right there.
I think the one that takes a little further, and we'll see how far it trickles down, is that federal employees must all be double vaxxed. Otherwise, you're going on unpaid leave.
Yeah.
So we're not firing you, but you're not earning an income.
Yeah.
Unless you get double vaccinated. We've seen here in the Niagara region that Acting Medical Officer of Health, Hergy, and the Niagara Health Department have encouraged businesses to get a vaccination policy. And I think they were citing and crediting business outbreaks for a large number of the most recent COVID positive tests.
Now, I'm going to come back to this topic in a second, but related to it is our guest that's coming up at 1 o'clock this afternoon on the program. And I wanted to mention this now, just in case you wanted to stick around or tune in for it, because I think it'll be an interesting conversation. Mark Kawabe is going to be joining us at 1 o'clock. He is secretary with the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce. You may have seen in the media, social and otherwise, over the last week, that the fact that rapid test kits are going to be supplied to small and medium-sized businesses, meaning businesses that have fewer than 150 employees. So we wanted to find out what this meant, how this rolls out, et cetera, et cetera. So Mr. Kawabe, Secretary of Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce, will be joining us to answer those questions at about 1 o'clock today. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Kevin, one wonders, and I guess this is one of those things that I'd love to have a labor lawyer on at some point in time, because going back to the mandate of having all federal employees with proof of double vaccination or being put on unpaid leave, could this be construed as constructive dismissal? Now, I know from managing businesses in the past, you can do all kinds of things, and the employees can get HR lawyers or employment lawyers or whatever to say, hey, this is wrong, because by doing this, you're basically putting me in an untenable position. I obviously cannot continue to work for you because of this new rule, so essentially you're firing me. But they're not firing them. They're putting them on unpaid leave, which means they can no longer provide for their families and pay their bills, etc. So what does this mean in the legal circles? I don't think we have heard the end of this by a long shot.
It will become very, very tricky as it trickles down to some of the larger and then smaller businesses when unions get involved.
And how do they accommodate for people that have medical dispensations to not, for some reason, either wear a mask or to get the vaccination or whatever? There's a deep pool here that we have not, we're not in yet.
I'll tell you, Lee, if I can go on a soapbox for a second, this argument between anti-vaxxers and people that fear the vaccine is just getting old and tired.
Yeah.
I hate to say that it's time to give up, but it's just, oh God, like, is anybody sympathizing with them? Anybody at all? Like, I really wouldn't care right now if Canada said to every employer, if you're not double vaccinated, you're not working. You're all going on unpaid leave. And I'd be like, yep, that sounds good to me. Because we need to kick everyone's ass and get the damn vaccine so that people like my parents can live in this society safely.
You may not agree with the fact that the vaccine does any good. You may be a conspiracy theorist. You may be anything or whatever, but if you want to live your life and not continue to have conflict, just get the damn shot and get over it. Like, really, people aren't trying to kill you. I don't think so.
Like, is this seriously the hill that you're going to die on? You're not going to be allowed to go.
Some people are dying on this hill,
pools.
Kevin.
You're not going to be able to go into essentially everywhere, and the places that you're allowed to go, those are slowly dwindling.
Yeah.
So are you just going to sit there and shake your fist standing on the outside of every building you want to get into instead of just walking into the one building that will gladly accept you and get your damn shot?
Yep. Some people will die on this hill, literally. And the stress that look at Alberta. I think that's the province that messed this whole thing up more than any other. And the other thing is the health care, and I know that's an argument that after a while gets so redundant. It's like white noise. It's like, I can't hear you anymore. I can't. And then again, the frontline medical workers and emergency medical people, etc., get almost forgotten again because it's been going on for so long. You almost forget to hear the message, and the message is that so many medical facilities are being clogged by things related to this issue that when you and I have an issue, and I'm not saying necessarily here in Niagara, I'm just using it as a metaphor. When you and I have an issue, there ain't no room at the inn.
No, you're absolutely right.
So that's affecting. That's not just. It's not just your right to not do something or your right to do something. It's about how the whole system reacts under the umbrella of the conversation and the stress that it puts on the system, which means the danger that it puts other citizens at risk for. It's like it's a domino effect that we haven't seen the end of yet. The dominoes are still falling.
No, and I think a major difference between what we see in the media as well, Lee, is that in the United States, it is not a government-controlled health system. So they can kind of wash their hands clean of what happens with the lineups at the hospitals because, hey, that's private industry.
Yeah.
I'm going to look after our people, and our people means business, and let's keep business going. Where in Canada, we're responsible for both, and I don't think anybody's going to sit here and say, well, that's the reason why we need to privatize healthcare. I think that's a losing argument. I love the healthcare system in Ontario. I love the healthcare system in Canada. Certainly, it has some flaws. Every system does. But there's a domino effect that we are responsible for. So we can't just wipe our hands clean of it. All right.
Let's. I was gonna take this to a couple of wildlife associated stories that have popped up over the last 24 to 36 hours. There was a story that popped up. We'll go to the oldest one first. No, we'll go to the newest one first. There we are. There's our friend, and actually I'm going to mention one of the comments in a bit. But there's Mr. Ron Arnold. He is a conservation officer. He's looking very suave in his conservation officer uniform and casually leaning on the railing of a bridge in Port Dalhousie. And he has a very, very short video here. Can we play that, Kev?
Yeah, just give me
It's only about
second
17
here.
seconds.
Yeah, all right.
I think.
Officers want to remind you that fishing within 23 meters downstream of any fishway, leap, or obstruction such as a dam is an offense under the Fisheries Act of Canada. Fish are afforded protection from angling during peak fish migrations.
That was it. Now, just in case you missed it, let's play that
Here
again.
in Port Dalhousie, conservation officers want to remind you that fishing within 23 meters downstream of any fishway, leap, or obstruction such as a dam is an offense under the Fisheries Act of Canada. Fish are afforded protection from angling during peak fish migrations.
So to all the anglers out there, that was the message, is the fact that you're not allowed to shoot fish in a barrel. you can't fish within a certain area of all of these schools of fish making their migration. So you can't fish in sensitive areas during their migration season, which leads me to believe that we're probably in that migration season now. One of the comments here, Kevin, did make me giggle just a little bit, and with apologies to Mr. Arnold, conservation officer. This one right there. Dave Woodhouse, I had to giggle when he said, so that's what a conservation officer looks like. I have been fishing all my life and I have never seen one. All the while I have seen countless offenses taking place. They are spread way too thin. Our fishing license fees should be used exclusively to hire more of these guys. So, Mr. Woodhouse, I thought that was an excellent comment, because I'm sure you're right in the fact that there are seriously depleted numbers of men and or women that enforce our wildlife protection laws locally, provincially, across the country, or whatever. Because frankly, now I'm not a big outdoorsman, I'm not a huge fisherman, hunter, anything like that, but I haven't seen too many conservation officers wandering around either, Kevin. But I just thought that was a really interesting topic to bring up. So follow the rules.
And when you're saying, shooting fish at a barrel, because if there are any of these fish ladders or fishways or whatever, that's where they're all going.
They're all,
it's a bottleneck.
It's not even fair. It's not a fair fight.
So
anyway.
Now you mentioned that there was a second kind of wildlife story.
Yes, you might, anybody that's watching this program might have heard the name Marineland before. I'm just guessing. Well, there was a blog post put up on Niagara 411 this past week. And there's the title right there. Rumors suggest Marineland is closing down for good and land is for sale to developers. Now, I'm not going to read the article because I think the article was actually written by someone that didn't know a whole heck of a lot of the current situation at Marineland, but the kernel of truth is in the details. In the fact that see, right there, it says Niagara Falls attraction that houses thousands of land and sea animals. Well, that's putting a little bit too fine a point on it. There are not thousands of animals there. However, the key point, irrespective of that detail, is the fact that the rumors persist that Marineland will be shuttering its doors and tanks and pools and fields, etc., at the end of this season, which is imminent. It's October the 11th or something, like a week from now or something.
Okay, let's take a look at this. This is as we go over to Twitter. This is Feulled, who is probably
Right.
the face of the fight against
The Marineland whistleblower.
against Marineland. Yeah, he was at the core of the walrus and the whistleblower. Ah, jeez, Twitter doesn't like me right now.
Jeez.
Oh well,
Jeez, Margie.
so we won't take a look at that. We'll take a look at that another time.
Yeah. So, the upshot of it is, and I wouldn't be surprised at all because of the duress that business has been under for many years, and probably rightfully so. Its time has come. Like just like SeaWorld in Florida and so many of the others, that kind of amusement park has moved on. That whole industry has moved past its expiry date. Its best before date is long done. And it's, with all due respect to everybody that loves the animals, that works with the animals at Marineland, and to the now deceased John Holler and his dream, etc. It was a dream that did bring entertainment to an awful lot of people. When the time was appropriate, those times are no longer appropriate. Those days are gone.
Yep, I would agree.
And
I think that would be the majority of public sentiment.
I think so.
The difference is, though, is that I don't know that I'm waking up every single day and fighting that fight. But if
No.
the people that are were able to talk to the legislators and even put it to a vote or ask me, I'd be like, yeah, I don't care if you shut it down, shut it down.
And I'm not one of those guys. We talked about this before. I'm not one of those guys that's totally anti-zoo. I remember growing up that seeing these animals in, like, say, the main one we went to. I mentioned this before. I think was the buffalo zoo. Was that the right environment for these animals at the time? I don't know. I didn't know then. We always liked to think that these animals were being well cared for, and we have no information to say otherwise. But I did learn from it, and the anti-zoo people will say there is absolutely no educational value in zoos. I differ greatly to that comment. I believe there is immense educational value to zoos.
Yeah, I would agree. Doesn't mean they need to stay open, but I would agree with that.
And I would agree with what you said as well. Has the era of zoos passed? Perhaps.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that's the winning argument. I think sometimes in arguments, Lee, people seem to think that it's 100% one way and 0 the other way, when a lot of times debate is 51-49, where I go, yeah, I'd be good if they closed down the zoos, but I understand the 49% of the argument is they do a lot of good. There is an educational component.
Like the small animal enclosure that's been going through some renovations, and I believe they're just about complete now from what I read over the last couple of weeks. In St. Catharines, for example, Happy Rolf's off Reed Road. I have never seen more joy than I experienced by looking at my grandkid's face when he met these animals, the donkeys and the rabbits, and like up close and
I've done the same with our children, and you're absolutely right.
The absolute joy that you can't get that from a computer screen. You just can't. The sights, the sounds, yes, the smells, the whole environment of being in the company of these wonderful creatures. I don't know.
No, but I get it. On the other side, I love going to zoos or Safari Niagara out in Stevensville. It's a great time for the family. You know, I'm not the bleeding heart for animals, but even I look at some of those enclosures, especially the ones for the birds and the big birds, and go, that's no life. That's no life right there.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not the one that's going to protest outside of it, but if they brought it to most Canadians and said, do we need zoos anymore? I think most Canadians would be like, nah, I'm okay without zoos.
I've seen some animal enclosures that bother me. One of them, this wasn't buffalo. I think it actually was one of the original Toronto zoos many years ago, and it was the polar bears. Now here we are. It was a summer day, hot summer day. Yes, they could swim, but this one particular bear was doing nothing but walking back and forth in a loop by the fence that bordered his enclosure. I felt my heart went out to this animal because I thought he's not happy. He's not enjoying himself.
No.
He's just trying to find a way out, you know, or some place to go. Those are the things that, and rightfully so, bother people. And again, we wonder where. I haven't heard anything more since we did our show on the horse-drawn carriages in Niagara on the Lake.
No, that got pretty heated as well, but you're right.
It did, and it should have.
Maybe the season's over, right?
I guess.
Maybe the operation shut down. I'm not sure.
I guess.
Lee,
yes, Kevin.
We're always monitoring Niagara 411.
Yes, sir.
And the NRP are just alerting people this morning, like as we're live here, to a concrete scam that's been going around.
Concrete?
Yeah. So, and of course, they put things like this out to see if there are any other victims.
Okay. Detectives arrest a male for fraudulent concrete work, a scam. So we're going now back to August. Detectives with the fraud unit of the NRPS started to look into allegations of a contractor fraud owner of the company Pasha's Concrete Corporation. Can concrete be a corporation? That's kind of an interesting name. Investigation revealed the owner of the company would either enter into contracts with members of the public for concrete jobs. The owner of the company would request a deposit, of course. Prior to starting any work, victims would pay the deposit. The work was neither started nor completed. This is something that happens on a regular basis in all kinds of these landscaping type endeavors. In total, members of the public were defrauded in excess of $39,000. Hakan Akgul, 32 years old, of Niagara Falls, arrested and charged with the following offenses: fraud under $5,000, 6 counts of that; fraud over $5,000, 2 counts of that; released on a Form 10, blah, blah, undertaking with a future court date. So if he didn't show up to do the concrete, I wonder if he's going to show up to do the court. What do you think? I don't know. And again, I am not giggling at the people that were taken advantage of. I feel sorry for you. We've all had, those of us who are homeowners, we have all contracted to have people come do work that has ended up being either unsatisfactory or untimely or whatever, and you've got to be really, really careful with the people that you hire, which I would encourage you to ensure that you hire credible Niagara-based, historically effective and honorable companies, as opposed to going for the cheapest quote from some dude in a pickup. So,
No.
go with the people you know.
So, Lee, just want to set you up here. Jan James has once again joined us. She's
awesome.
She's in the green room right now. I'll give her just a second to set up, and I'll get some stuff prepped for that. Wanted to share this video with you because NRP are still looking for Darren Werner from Niagara on the Lake.
Darren Werner, yeah.
And they put out a video, I think right around the time that we did our show last week.
Yes.
And we didn't get to it, so I wanted to make sure that we share it, and I guess this is the update from the NRP. Oh, just a second here.
Okay.
My name is Richard Goetz. I'm a detective sergeant here with the Niagara Police Service. I'm currently assigned to the number 2 District Detective Services Unit. I'm one of the officers assigned to the investigation into the disappearance of Mr. Darren Warner, which is filed under incident number 21-105520. This video is a follow-up to 2 previous media releases to remind the public that we are actively looking for Mr. Warner. If Mr. Warner sees this video or hears of us making this video, by all means, Darren, please contact your family, let them know that you're okay. If anyone has seen Darren or been in contact, you're also urged to contact police. If you wish to operate on the premise of anonymity, by all means, you can use our Crime Stoppers tips line.
There you go. That is an interesting story.
It's crazy. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, there's a family that's just torn apart right now. Is every day, stretches into a week, 2 weeks,
My name
and
is
now
Richard Goetz. I'm a detective sergeant here with the Niagara.
playing it again. Just terrible.
But we're still not 100% sure, are we, that the disappearance was involuntary? We're not 100% sure, are we?
I wouldn't want to speculate at anything at this point, Lee.
No.
I don't
He
know.
just disappeared.
Yeah. Here's something that you sent me a day ago, and it came from, I'll say our next guest that just clicked on the Zoom link just like anybody else can.
Yeah, so Jan James is a lady that runs Niagara Things to Do. And she and I have corresponded since then on a couple of things, like through direct message and Facebook, etc. Well, she sent me this. Or she sent me, first of all, this on a direct message and then put this on her post on Facebook. While out for my hike today in Niagara Falls, came across a Burmese python. Unheard of in Canada. Well, we went back and forth a little bit, and I said, please come on the show and tell us about this. So, hey, Jen, welcome back to Niagara 411 Live. How you doing today?
Great. How are you guys doing?
We are excellent. Can you tell us this story right from the beginning? You just start and I'll shut up.
Okay. So, I mean, you know my page, Niagara Things to Do, and a big part of that is I'm like the roving road reporter, so I'm always out there. I'm always looking for fun things. And yesterday I was just out on my daily hike, and walking along, and I thought it was, Millennium Trail.
Okay.
Just off of McLeod, and it heads up towards Feulled Stone.
Okay.
You can take the back trail for quite some time, beautifully paved, well done trail.
All right, now I'll shut up.
And there's cyclists. There's cyclists, there's dog walkers. Everybody uses that trail. It's very popular in Niagara Falls. So I'm using the trail, and I came across a Samsung monitor lying in the middle of the trail, which I thought was weird. And I thought, wow, what's a Samsung monitor doing in the middle of the trail? Like, where would you use it, And I thought that was weird. So I was taking a couple pictures of that, just logging, and get further up the trail, and I saw this snake. I mean, it was huge. It was big. I mean, not as big as a python would get, but it was a big snake. I want to say like 3 feet long maybe, and I don't know the circumference, but I stopped dead in my tracks. I looked around. I thought, is this a Halloween prank? I wasn't sure, because I knew that this was not a regular domestic snake.
Yeah.
So as I got closer and closer, I looked and realized that there was flies on it, and there was a smell coming off it.
Ooh.
So I knew that if this was a toy or something, you would have flies on it. Quickly
this was a dead
assessed
snake.
that it was real. It was dead, yes. But
Okay, so then what did you do?
I was afraid, obviously. I didn't know. I've seen snakes on plenty of shows and see that they don't move, and they could sit there still for a long time. So I thought, do I move? Does it move? Is it going to jump at me? I didn't know that it was a Burmese python, by the way. A passerby happened to come by, and I said to him, I pointed it out to him. We looked together. He says, oh my God, that's a Burmese python. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yes. I said, well, I wouldn't know if it was a rattlesnake, a Burmese python. I wouldn't know the difference. It had that little tail on it that looked like it would rattle as well. So I mean, I don't know about reptiles and snakes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
my concern was more, is somebody going to come by and get injured? Is a dog going to come by and try and bite at it or attack it to protect its owner? And, you'd have a whole series of events happen.
All right, so tell us the rest of the story. What did you do then?
Well, after assessing that it for sure was deceased, I called the police because, as I say, I was actually still wondering when I took a good look at it and got up close. I got closer than the gentleman did. I don't know, being the risky chick I am. So I got closer, and when I looked at it, I could see that it had just digested. It looked like maybe 2 mice or something. That there was 2 big bulges on the back, so it had just eaten.
Okay.
It seemed not too long ago. Again, not knowing, does that make this thing dormant, and is it just lying there because it's so full and it's just like not moving, right? And as I say, after assessing it a bit further and seeing that there was flies around the head and it didn't move for about 15 minutes, I called the police.
Yeah.
And they called animal services to come have it removed.
And you waited until that happened?
Yes, I did. Yes, because as I say, I'm still very worried. I mean, I know, and I've heard, in the States and stuff, if people get bit by a snake like that, I mean, if you don't have the anti-venom at hand and in your country, that person usually has 10 to 15 minutes to respond, and that poison takes over their body. So
I don't know that a python is one of those poisonous snake varieties.
Yeah, I think they squeeze.
They're more of a
But
squeeze
then,
and swallow type snake.
Yeah, but you don't know that at the time, of course, right?
No, you don't. You don't.
And you don't know, does it bite? Does it still bite? And if someone was to pick it up, would it have that last bit of juice in the world? Just turn around and do a quick... I don't know, right?
It's definitely not something that you want to encounter, alive or dead or otherwise, on a leisurely hike.
Absolutely.
On any given day. So the animal control people, I'm assuming they just did you talk with them at all about it?
Actually, they said they were going to call wildlife, but it turned out that the Humane Society was the one who came, and he didn't seem too fazed by it, to tell you the truth. And I want to point out and mention that right beside the snake, and you'll see it in my pictures there, is a box. And it looked like it's a box that you would have kept a snake in because it had like screen or mesh windows on it. And then there was a ball right beside it as well. I'm like, is this the snake's toy? I don't know what it was. I don't know. It obviously was a pet. Somebody had dropped it there. They came with the toting case that snake was brought in. Yeah. And it seems that it was just dumped right there. After talking to several people on the path that walked by, no one said they seen it just like earlier, 10 minutes earlier when they entered that pathway, because it was right at the entry point.
Yeah.
So how long it was actually there, I don't know.
Which brings up that conversation about people who keep exotic animals as pets and then end up disposing of them in one way or another when they either can't care for it anymore or maybe it was deceased when it. Who knows what the situation is? But it was a fascinating. Look at that. Yeah, we just put another one of your.
It's on my page. If you pull up my page, you'll see all the pictures of it. Actually,
we're doing that right now for the people that are watching this show. We're posting your pictures.
That's a big snake.
That is a big, scary snake. Yeah. So.
Holy.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
it's
and I mean, obviously it wasn't full grown, because I think a python could get up to 20, 30, 40 feet, who knows, right? But,
and there's
it was probably about a good 3 feet long, 4 feet, 3 feet, I'd say, I guess.
And there's the box with the ball and the snake nearby, etc. So, to go to your point, Jan, it was obviously somebody's pet. And for one reason or another, they could not or did not want to care for it any longer. And
it's a shame, because there's a lot of pages out there that you could, a lot of pages are on Facebook for adopting out, or I'm sure there's reptile pages or snake pages. there'd be someone who would have taken that snake on and kept it and known what to do with
Can I ask,
Unless
Jan,
it died, it's hard to say.
So when the authorities showed up, be it Humane Society, whatever it is, did they confirm the breed?
I mentioned it to him that the gentleman who was there earlier, because they took about 15 minutes to get there, I'll tell you. And it wasn't the police that responded, it was the Humane Society that came. And there was a delay in the response only because they asked if it was still alive. They realized that it was deceased, so there was no real threat.
But did they confirm that it was a Burmese python?
The gentleman who came from, the Humane Society, he said that he felt it was. He wasn't sure himself.
Okay.
I was just amazed at how well he handled it and wasn't afraid to. I mean, he came with a garbage bag and kind of wrapped around the middle and picked it up and.
Okay. Crazy, crazy but interesting story. Jan James of Niagara, Things to Do. Thanks for coming back on the program. Hopefully you won't run into... hopefully Things to Do will not constantly or consistently include running into snakes on your travels, of that size anyway. And we'll talk to you again, I'm sure. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you for having me, guys. Love it. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, you too. Cheers.
Bye.
Yeah, wild? Like, that would be a shock. Alive or dead or indifferent, it would be. Whoa! What have we got here?
Yeah, that's a big snake, Lee. Like, no joking around. I'd be totally thrown off if I saw that.
Invasive species are a huge issue in certain corners of the world. Canadian snowbirds, who spend a lot of time in Florida, will have probably run into a lot of this as well. And that is an area where there are many what they refer to as invasive species. In other words, species that are being that are reproducing and taking over certain areas that they're not indigenous to. Somebody throws something out of a cage that they don't want to deal with this exotic pet anymore, and then they start to reproduce and take over certain geographical areas. They're not indigenous to the area, and they become invasive and upset the whole ecology of these areas. And it's a big, big problem in a lot of areas with a lot of different species. What was the one that... I can't remember this. It was years ago, and especially any area like, for example, a Port Dalhousie or Port Weller that has the zebra mussel. Remember that?
The zebra mussel. There was also the emerald ash borer.
Yeah.
That was attacking all of our trees. The zebra mussels attaching themselves to the hulls
These are
of
creatures
boats.
that aren't indigenous to the area, but they're brought in somehow or imported from another area. Then they become a problem because we don't have the ecology to fight them. So it's a big issue. I remember when I was in British Columbia, a bunch of chefs got together at some pretty high-end wineries, and they ran this promotion called Eat 'em to Beat 'em. And I went to a buffet one time, and all of the food that was included on the buffet were from were cooked and prepared invasive species, wildlife, including starlings and like all kinds of weird stuff. It's pretty good, actually.
It used to be a little more zebra mussel now that you mentioned it.
Pretty tasty.
Lee, I'm going to throw this on the screen, but we've got Mark in the green room to talk about, I'll let you take it.
It was announced not very long ago that free rapid testing kits will be made available for small and medium-sized businesses, defined by those businesses who employ fewer than 150 employees. And this was shared by Niagara 411 and under the auspices of Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce. Mark Kawabe is the secretary of that organization, and we wanted to chat with him today about this. Mark, thanks for being on the program. Can you hear and see us okay?
I can hear and see you just fine.
Great. So, first of all, let's start way back here at the beginning. What is the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce, number one, and what does being secretary of that organization entail for you?
So the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce is originally an outgrowth of the old Feulled Chamber of Commerce, actually the Feulled Board of Trade back in the day. Do you know when the first Stanley Cup was won?
The first Stanley Cup was won? No, I don't. Kevin,
Yeah.
you might know.
I don't know, 1916?
1893.
All right, there you go.
Okay.
So the week
Thank you
before
thank you for the history lesson. Thank you.
So the Feulled Board of Trade was actually launched the week before the first Stanley Cup was won by the Montreal Hockey Club at the time.
Sorry, Kev.
Yeah, so Feulled Board of Trade was originally the starting point. Then through lots of trials and tribulations, the Feulled Chamber of Commerce was in existence, and then it wasn't, and then reformed as the Greater Feulled Business Council, and a few other evolutions later, we've now become the Niagara Board of Trade. So
And what
essentially,
is what is the purpose of that? Is it like a chamber organization, or just explain what its mandate is?
Yep, still very much like a chamber mandate to promote business in Niagara, improve trade and commerce in Niagara, encourage good governance, and promote sound legislation for businesses, and of course promote Niagara for the purposes of improving the benefits for businesses and citizens here. So, yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. How does this compare or parallel with the GNCC, the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce? How do these two organizations, are they similar or are they different? How do they coexist?
I'd say we're probably parallel. I think one of the differences, perhaps some people have commented on, is that we have a lot of partnerships with a lot of other the regional chambers. So we're part of the Niagara Chamber Partnerships, and we work quite cooperatively with all of our other regional chambers to promote business in the region.
So how did the Board of Trade and Commerce become involved with this rapid test kit initiative?
Rapid testing. The Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce is part of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and the government partnered with the Ontario Chamber to roll out these rapid antigen screening kits through local chambers all across Ontario. So
okay.
We're part of that initiative.
How is it going to work?
Actually, it's been working very well. So essentially, people can come to our website and register. You don't have to be a member of the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce to participate in the program. This is open to all businesses in Niagara with 150 employees or less. But essentially, come to our website, register on the Stay Safe Rapid Antigen Workplace Screening portal. You order your kits online, and you pick them up at our pickup location in Feulled, and then away you go.
Okay, well, when you say away you go, in your mind, you've got this whole thing locked and loaded. For those of us that aren't really familiar with maybe how this works, what benefit is this what is it designed to do? Why are we doing this?
A great question. So now that vaccination is much more widespread, there's perhaps a perceived less of a need for rapid testing kits. However, there are a number of people in the workplace who are not vaccinated for a number of different reasons.
Okay.
And for those folks, it is suggested that they get rapid testing done 2 or 3 times a week, just to make sure that they are free of COVID.
And it is the employer that administers these tests to their employees?
Correct. The employer can register with the program and bring the kits in.
Okay.
How the employer actually manages the screening, they can either do it on site, like everybody shows up for work and you all get swabbed, and right. And if you're positive, you have to go get a proper PCR test. Or they can distribute the tests to their employees. The employees can screen themselves at home, bring in the completed test, negative of course, and then go about their day.
So what format does this take? Is it the stick up the nose, or is it another way that we do this?
Yeah. These are the lower nasal tests, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not tickling your brain with these.
Okay.
It's just the forward nose swabs.
How reliable is this test?
That's a good question. There's no, as they say, there's no silver bullet for these things. They're not perfect, but as they say, they're sort of better than nothing. So I don't have a percentage.
I understand.
Accuracy for these tests.
Is there anything mandatory about businesses of 150 or fewer employees to have these testing procedures in place, or is it strictly a voluntary procedure?
I think businesses are really grappling with that, and there's no law that says you have to have all your employees either vaccinated, well, depending on your sector,
Okay.
right? But I think a lot of employers they want to do the right thing. They want to try and reduce the spread of COVID as much as possible. So this is just another tool to allow them to do that.
Understood. I'm wondering, is there any a label or designation or whatever that can be displayed in a business? For example, if somebody goes into some place and like we see decals on the door for Board of Trade or Chamber of Commerce or security or whatever it is there anything that says we're a rapid test business or ISO 2000, those kinds of things? Is there any sort of designation like that available?
There's nothing official, and there's nothing that we've put out that does that. That would really be up to the business.
Yeah. Now, most of these businesses, are they businesses that deal with the public, or are they just sort of in-house employee-based businesses that they just want to make sure their employees are safe?
We've got a mix of both, actually. So, the statistics seem to show that 50% of COVID transmission is asymptomatic. So, in the cases where there are unvaccinated employees, they want to make sure that
that's all.
That they're.
Yeah. Okay. And give us the site again, where we can go if anybody wants to really do a little bit more due diligence on this conversation that we just had. Tell us where to go.
Sure, they can just come to the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce website, which is NBO, Niagara Board of Trade, and NBOTAC.
There it is. We've got it up on the screen. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Mark, thank you very much for this. And again, anything to do with this COVID generation is always sort of new territory. That we're blazing new trails here every day, and we appreciate your history lesson as well as the information. And considering you've been around since 93?
Looking pretty good, eh?
Yeah, you're looking great. Mark Kawabe, Secretary of the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce, appreciate the information. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll talk again at some point.
Thanks for having us here, Lee.
Cheers, man. Bye.
Bye.
Kevin, we learn something new, as they say, every day. And we learn something new here every week on Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. That would be me. That would be Kevin Jack on the right-hand side of your screen, co-owner and operator and founder of WeeStreem Niagara, Canada's premier streaming service for any event or happening that you can think of that perhaps you might want to have somebody there in person. You say, let's do that, but let's make it available to everybody else around the world as well. Well, that's what WeeStream can do.
Coming up, Lee, before the end of the program, I want to share on Saturday we were at a Polish church in Hamilton streaming a wedding. The church was so beautiful, right by Ticat Stadium. The wedding is so beautiful, so I'll touch on that because live streaming is becoming more and more of an essential part of anybody's wedding these days. And, of course, WeeStream does it unlike anybody else.
I mean, when you guys started, it was, it still is a relatively new concept for some. but it was brand spanking new when you and Brendan Scram started this thing, and it was okay. We've got let's say a sporting event that has teams from coast to coast participating. Not everybody can travel to see their kids play or their uncles play or whatever it is, but now we can sit in front of the screen and see everything in real time as it happens. We can participate if we want to, and it was really. And then the whole COVID thing happened, shut down so much of your core business, and now you're back, and so you're kind of doing both things.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of everything. Sports used to be kind of the core of our business, so to speak. Now we're doing a lot more municipal work. We're starting to see that learning curve, of people understanding what live streaming it is and how it can be an effective tool for them is improving. It looks like we're going to be double booked again this year for Remembrance Day. And those are the types of things, right? As a municipality, when you start thinking about a Remembrance Day ceremony, 100% without doubt, it should be live streamed.
And if you watch, sorry to interrupt you, but if you watch this program at all, you will notice the variety of visuals that happen on the screen as we're going through this program. That variety is, it looks simple and it looks seamless, etc., but it's a pretty complicated feat for Kevin, and it's just Kevin and me. I'm the talking head, he does everything else. And there's so it's not just the case of, well, I can film my wedding. I'll set a phone up at the back or a camera or whatever it is at the back of the island. I'll just shoot everything.
Yeah, like say we just show downtown St. Paul Street, just like that.
Yeah,
whatever you want. No, but you're absolutely right. And you know what? I actually wrote a blog for the Wedding Planner Institute of Canada.
Who knew?
With DIY tips. With DIY tips. So if people do want to do it themselves, I'd encourage you to send me an email and I'll send you to that blog, and you'll at least have 5 bullet points there that say, okay, if you are just going to stream your own ceremony, here's 5 things that you can do to make it better and ensure some success. If you want to get beyond that, then hire somebody like ourselves, but we understand that that's not in everybody's plan and everybody's budget. But I want to get to this wedding. But Lee, I know that there was we already talked about the weird impaired guy dropping off the kids, but I don't know that he was the dumbest motorist of the week, because there was also the guy with the windows.
Oh yes, my stupid picture of the week. Now, what you are looking at is a typical family mid-sized sedan of sorts. Niagara OPP officers stopped the vehicle. And in order for the gentleman the driver, to accommodate the police officer's requests, he had to crawl out from under the windows that were piled in the vehicle in order to access the documents like license and insurance and ownership and all that stuff. So as a result, the Niagara Regional Police Service passed on a request to people to not overload their car. I know. How many times have you been to a store with your wife or somebody said, we bought these chairs. I know we can get these in there. I know we can, just to get them home. I know we can get these in. And well, maybe you should. Everybody knows somebody that owns a truck. Call your friend that owns a pickup, and believe me, it'll be easier. Stupid pickup.
You know what, Lee? I'll even throw it out there. I've done this before. If you talk to the rental companies, some of their daily rates to rent like big trucks is actually very affordable. If you're picking up something expensive at a store, especially if it's raining or anything like that, you can rent a giant U-Haul.
Now I'm gonna say well, there's one brand mentioned right there. We're not paid by U-Haul, by the way, nor are we by Home Depot. But you see all those trucks lined up at like a Home Depot saying, "We rent this truck. Rent it and take your stuff." Oh, Kevin, the funniest story. Quick, this is really quick, because it doesn't mean anything to anybody but me. But way back in the day, we lived in Feulled, actually. My wife and I bought our first house in Feulled, and we had little kids, and we wanted to buy them a little wading pool for the backyard. And we bought one of those wading pools like in the shape of a turtle.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, but we had a smaller car. We had no way to take the turtle home. So We're actually driving. We were stupid. I swear to God, we were stupid. We're driving home from the Penn Center to our place in Thorold. We're on the 406 highway, holding the turtle on top of the car.
That's how I used to get
we should have been stopped. I mean, really.
That's how I'd get the hockey nets down to the tennis court.
Oh, man.
I got something happening here.
Ooh.
There you go. That's the ambulance.
It always concerns me when I see those.
Do we want to wrap up the show, or do you want me to get your blood boiling a bit?
You can boil my blood. That's all right.
Blood boiled. I know you wanted to comment on this.
Oh, this one. Well, it's not so much boiling as sort of just wondering. Now, we had Wayne Kretz on the program last week. Wayne is the owner of a restaurant in St. Catharines, but he also runs a thing called Niagara Sports Trips. Takes busloads of people to like sports games in Toronto, but also to like Buffalo Bills games, etc. And because of the COVID thing, it's been under stress. So we had a chat with Wayne last week. Pretty, I think, non-offensive conversation. And then an interesting comment pops up from this lady, Sandra Bell, whom we do not know, and it doesn't matter. Don't show this crap again. I had the same response that Wayne did. What? Pardon? Well, I don't know.
You wonder sometimes why people just don't scroll on by.
Yeah.
Scrolling anyway, just scroll on by.
And just so that you know, in case you haven't figured out the routine by now, if you're not really a regular Niagara 411 visitor, is the fact that we do this program in its entirety for about 90 minutes a week, and then over the course of the week, Kevin will take segments and repost them on Niagara 411, and it's under the ICMY, in case you missed it, thing. So you don't have to watch the entire 90-minute program. You can if you want. We'd love you to, of course. But there might be one particular segment that might be of particular interest to you. And therefore, they'll go up over the course of the week, and you can go on and watch them. Well, such was the case with our conversation with Wayne. And there's another one right there. And in case you missed it, NRP looking for this man, and we put it up on the video when you click on it. It broke into as many as 6 Niagara area restaurants, including the one here at Fiddler's Poorhouse on St. Paul Street. So when somebody says, don't post this crap again, I'd really like to know why it's crap and what the complaint is. I mean, I couldn't care less. But what you say, it's,
And I also find it strange that people think that they put comments on Facebook and it will never actually reach the people who may be slighted by it. And there, Wayne's like, what? What's...
Yeah,
I
don't understand. Explain yourself.
I own a business. I own this other business. We do good things for people that want to go to sporting events. And now I'm having problems getting across the border.
What's your problem?
Go to Bills. Yeah, go to Bills games. Like, what's the problem there?
What's your problem?
So
Kevin,
there's St. Paul Street coming up. Again, I want to feature some more local artists from
I wanted to talk about this earlier, but now you're going to tell us who, right?
Yeah, the Welland Mayor's Charity Gala that we were a part of along with TNR Productions. And It was a great acoustic set by Street Pharmacy. They've been around forever in Welland. And their acoustic set of, I think the song is actually called Street Pharmacy. The song is an earworm. It'll just get stuck in your head.
Oh, good for doing that.
So that's coming up. But I did want to share, again, just a magnificent church here.
Oh, yeah, show us this.
And this is right by Ticats Stadium in Hamilton.
Look at that.
And, I mean, it's just, churches can be awe-inspiring, and this is one of them. Yeah. Anybody here in the Polish community has probably been there for a wedding or some event over the years. It's in Hamilton. Again, if you know where Ticats Stadium is, or I guess it's Tim Hortons
Field. It's Tim Hortons Stadium now.
It's right there. So here you see some of the transitions, and again, just a beautiful place. The bride and groom seated there. We had a great little peekaboo camera that we set up. There you go. To capture the bride and groom. I mean, no other business other than WeeStream is going to give you views like this.
I mean, and the quality of the shot, and then back to this, and the different. It's not like you've got a static camera sort of taking this one long.
Yeah, just one shot the whole time.
One shot of the whole deal. And it goes beyond that too. I mean, all the other stuff that happens.
Here we go. Here, let's see if I can just scroll along to see some of the.
Yeah.
There's one point where we did a nice little. I mean, there you go. That's from behind the pulpit.
Right.
You can kind of look out at everybody. It's really just a beautiful church. As you can tell, I was somewhat blown away by it. And let me see if I can get to the point where we kind of do this little panoramic of it. Oh, there we go. There's everybody getting their communion.
Right.
Oh, here we go, right in this area.
And again, it's not something that you need to do instead of having people there, because obviously they were allowed to have guests at their wedding. It's just an enhancement. It's sort of taking the place, Kevin, of hiring a professional photographer to take snap stills of everything.
Yeah,
it's a whole live
for us, and it can be interactive. Sometimes we send this exact same production into Zoom, set up a screen there for the bride and groom to actually interact with couples that are watching from all over the world.
Like, look, that moment when the bride and groom were just sort of chatting with each other.
Yeah.
That was a real private kind of looking moment that they'll probably look back on.
And I love the way that all of a sudden here the clouds broke and that ray of light is just hitting her veil so perfectly. It was
nice,
serendipitous.
Yeah,
I don't know if you would say that, but it's
really nice.
Here, let me see if I can. There you go. You get a sense of the entire church right there. The painted ceilings. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful spot. My goodness. All right. One more thing before we get to our musical act to play us off the stage is it's no surprise, and will come as no surprise to you, that comments and interactions on social media are becoming more and more, it seems, combative or involved or full of angst and stress, etc. And I found it interesting that our pal Nick at Niagara 411 posted, and you don't even have to show it, Kevin, but posted something. If you scroll through Niagara 411 on Facebook, you will find something that Nick put up there about being kind. And sure, there's going to be stuff that you disagree with, but there it is. It's called Absolutely. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but when you get a chance, you do so. And the whole idea is, we'll skip right to the bottom. We don't have to agree, but we should always be kind, or at least understanding, or at least somehow empathetic, or that kind of thing. Not judgmental, and it's not going to. Me saying that isn't going to stop it. It's going to. It'll continue. But anyway, again, episode 40 has been a pleasure of this season 2. We thank Gales Gaspars for fueling this program. Our title sponsor, as always, never ceases to support us 100%, so we thank them for that, as well as our other supporters: Performance Heating and Air, Enwick High Speed Internet, Verge Insurance Group, WeeStream, of course, our esteemed producers and founders. My name is Lee Sterry of Lee Sterry Voice Services. We will be back with episode 41 a week from today. Have yourselves a fabulous Thanksgiving weekend and enjoy this music interlude as we get played off the stage as per usual. Have yourselves a fabulous day.
Let's hear it for Welland, everybody. I love this city. Many years ago, we shut down this bridge over here, and it was the first video that we'd ever gotten onto Much Music. We were a bunch of wild-eyed 22-year-olds, and the city of Welland was gracious enough to not kibosh our plans and gave us an actual permit to shut that thing down. And it gave me faith and hope in Welland, especially for young people. I mean, being so young at the time. And I think it's just a beautiful place to live. And there's so many great musicians. I mean, look how many musicians came here to perform their own songs. It's a creative hub. It must be something in the water. That's not a canal joke. I try. Try the fish later. I'll be here all night. Don't try the canal fish, though. Anyway, I'm just a proud Wellander. I wear it on the shirt. I bleed for Welland. I think most people agree that if you're from Welland, there's something special about this place, and you carry it wherever you go. You could take the Wellander out of Welland, but you can't take the Wellander... something like that. You get it. This song's called Welcome to the Street Farm, so it goes a little something like this. I thought that was going to kill. Street Pharmacy, and I'm gonna welcome to the Street Pharmacy. You'll never leave it or want your at the Street Pharmacy, and I'm gonna welcome to the Street Pharmacy. 2, 3, I never really understood when I was a kid that the motivation's in me. The rhymes that I be spitting, I'm making other empty dizzy. Always keep busy, playing the geek just where's Trizzy. The boys are back in town, we're dropping hooks like Finn Lizzy. When I cultivate the zero biz, I'm like a chemist, cause we're balancing some complex equations. And like a menace, I got a system, order, method to my madness. When you hear our tunes, it will eliminate your sadness, because we're taking from all the musical genres. We blend it with a little reggae rock, and now it's on your stereo, blaring up and down your block, and making people come together like the first Woodstock. So when you hear a rhythm section, it ain't no Star Trek convention. Rhymes that I be spitting, I teaching Captain Kirk, I listen to don't stammer. Starter on bit popping Zimbabwe's, but when you hear the pharmacy up on the street, it always pays. The Street Pharmacy, yeah. And I'm gonna welcome to the Street Pharmacy. You'll never leave it once you're at the Street Pharmacy, yeah. And I'm gonna welcome to the Street Pharmacy. 2, 3, go. When we played Truth or Dare, now she more sophisticated, highly educated. Now that's so overrated. I think I need a break. I sip my two. You do not know me, but I know you very well. Now let me tell you about the feelings I feel for you when I try. Even making music come out your far side. Every single day, it's clear these words don't lie. A flow will make you wanna stay. My name is Ryan Gray. I kick the ball like Pele from Brazil. My rhymes are ill, so I suggest you quit smoking the kill. On all your discounted cigarettes, you come to the pharmacy, a choice you won't regret. We're at the Street Pharmacy, a place in time you won't forget. The Street Pharmacy, yeah. And now I welcome to the Street Pharmacy. You'll never leave it once you're at the Street Pharmacy, yeah. And now I welcome to the Street Pharmacy. The Street Pharmacy, yeah. And now I welcome to the Street Pharmacy. You'll never leave it once you're at the Street Pharmacy. And I'm gonna welcome to the Street Pharmacy. Thank you so much, everybody. So that's the song that we performed on the